forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This is a show by the people, for the people, and you, my friends, are my people. So if you are here, you're in the right place. Leave your comments, join our community, because that is just the way we like it. In today's program, classic tweets sprinkled throughout the show by the Easter Bunny himself. We got all kinds of good stuff for you coming up. Super 70 Sports. We got some surprises in addition to that. We're emptying the bag on this Friday on a week of fun that we have had here. And we will begin in Augusta, Georgia, where the eyes of the sporting world are once again upon the Masters tournament. Yeah, that's right. It is the most wonderful time of the year for some of us, even the casual golf fans. Ronnie t-shirts. The casual golf fans are interested in this one. The majors are the ones that we really care about as golf fans, and the Masters is unquestionably the most popular major golf championship with American fans, at least. The green jacket, the hallowed grounds, there's something about it. It is a tradition unlike any other, as we have heard so many times. And there it is, absolutely stunning and beautiful. And as we will discuss a little bit later in the program, today is the day that Ronnie and I are going to tell our Masters story. I can confirm, after finally scratching it off my bucket list 1 year ago, Augusta National is absolutely as magnificent in person, even more so than it is on your television. And we will get to that. But let's first shout out Freddie Couples and Bernhard Langer. We've got two old guys out there who are threatening to make the cut at the Masters this year. Freddie Couples, who holds the record for oldest player to make the cut at Augusta. He did that just a couple of years ago at age 63, came out yesterday, fired a 1 under par 71, which makes him at age 65 the second oldest man to break par during a round at the Masters. The record, Tom Watson in 2015, he did it also at age 65. He was, I believe, a month older than Fred Couples. So it's pretty exciting stuff to see this going on. Longer, 2 over par. He's 67. So right now the projected cut line, I believe, is +1. Ronnie told me before we went on the air. So both of those guys are flirting with it, and it would certainly be exciting to see either one of them, much less both of them, make it. But here are some names that Freddie Couples at age 65 finished ahead of yesterday. Rory McIlroy, you may have heard of him. Colin Morikawa, Xander Schauffele, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Brooks Koepka, John Rahm. Are you not entertained? 65 years young. Way to go, Freddie. And that swing is still smooth as silk. He was the standard for a lot of us. That tempo, the way that he would swing. I remember hitting plastic golf balls around the backyard of my mom's house when I was growing up, trying to, in my mind, approach the tempo that Freddie Couples still has at the ripe old age of 65. It's not all sunshine and roses in Augusta. The Masters chairman, Fred Ridley, is joining in the chorus that we have heard recently, addressing the topic of slow play on tour. Fred Ridley saying that, we do need to step it up, be mindful of playing the game at an appropriate pace, because as you know, this is one that a lot of us, the weekend hackers, we can all relate to this. It's like you don't have to play well, but you can make a choice not to play slow. And that's the thing. I would rather play a round of golf with a guy who shoots 108 and goes through 2 sleeves of balls, but is getting after it while he's chasing his ball around the property, than some guy who's going out there and shooting a 75 and grinding over every shot like he thinks that he's in the Masters himself. So even at the highest levels, the players get frustrated about that. But let's take a look back on some of my favorite Masters tweets that I have done through the years. The caddies at Augusta have certainly gotten some props from me over at Super 70 Sports, and this is one of my favorites. Look, you might go lower than Chi Rodriguez. You might beat him, might finish ahead of him, but you sure as hell were not going to outfunk his caddy. Have a look at that sweet bastard. I can't take credit for this. Sometimes people will come back and make a comment that I wish I had written. It does happen. As many compliments as people give me for my captioning, it is not that rare for me to see something and think, damn it, that guy in the comments, that would have been the better tweet. And I remember some guy came along at some point, and I can't remember who you are to give you your appropriate name check here, but the guy said that photo was taken at the Ohio Players Championship. And for the few of you that remember the Ohio Players, I thought that's it. That was the fucking caption right there. Or maybe you prefer Jack Nicklaus's caddy. Having a caddy who looks like he got whacked in Goodfellas was worth at least 2 strokes per round for Jack Nicklaus. You know, Nicklaus, how'd your round go, Jack? You know how Jack talks? Jack kind of talks, well, I was 3 under at the turn, and then my caddy got whacked for talking too much. Loose lips. They dumped him in Rays Creek. Dumped his body in Rays Creek, sadly, in 1977, I believe it was. Or how about this, by the way? This, I don't know if it's sunk in for you guys yet. I have dreaded this moment for years and years and years, even though I have seen it coming. This is the first Masters in 40 years without Vern Lundquist. And this is less an attempt to be funny than an attempt to try to remedy this situation when I tweeted, can we at least utilize AI technology to replicate Vern Lundquist so he can call the Masters forever? I want a Vern bot. Can we get on that? Somebody tell Elon Musk that we need a Vern Lundquist AI so that we can enjoy his tones and wisdom for all of eternity at Amen Corner. Well, anyway, there he is. The great Vern Lundquist. Wherever you are, Vern, shout out for 4 decades of memories that you gave us. Gary Player is approaching 90 years old. I believe Gary Player is 89 years old. He is, of course, one of only 5 players to have won the Grand Slam. You're 5 Grand Slam champions, and that means you've got to have the Masters, the U.S. Open, the Open Championship, or as it was called when I was growing up more commonly in this country, the British Open, and then the PGA Championship is the 4th. And Gary Player, one of only 5 players to win all of those. Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, Gary Player, Ben Hogan, Gene Sarazen. And Gary Player, who has dedicated his lifetime to golf and fitness, is doing very well at the ripe old age of 89, and he had some comments at Augusta. Let's listen.
In 1997, when Tiger Woods won the Masters, he revealed that he famously ate at Arby's every single night. I was wondering when the last time you had any fast food was.
Well, you don't reach 90 as I do if you eat a bunch of crap, I can tell you that. But that's your choice. You know, everybody has a choice. I want to live to 100 because I love people, I love golf, I just love life. I've got a young girlfriend who've changed my life. How about that at 90, finding a girlfriend? Tom's not as old as me, but he's also found a new one. And and I'll tell you what, guys, you all, one of you or your wife are going to die. One of you are going to die. One of the spouses is going to die. And it's not the end of life. And so many people, that does happen, and they get so disheartened that they don't think they should continue life. The greatest gift bestowed upon a man or woman is life. And so my ambition is to reach 100. So I went to India and I met a gerontologist, and he gave me 11 things to work on, which I adhere to. And so I might drop dead tomorrow, but I'm giving it a hell of a try.
Gary Player, sassy and wise as he approaches 90 years old. When they interview me at age 89, Ron, they're going to be talking to a headstone. You're going to be in a cemetery somewhere looking at here lies Ricky Cobb, because I don't know. I've been to Arby's recently. I'll tell you that. Good stuff though. Let's take a look at something that's not so good. Somebody that may not get invited back. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but Jose Luis Ballester, a young man, amateur, I believe, felt the need, well, I don't know. He felt nature's call, I suppose, is the right way to put it, and decided that he would relieve himself in Rae's Creek. Oh, dear.
What happened there?
Well, I completely forgot that we had those restrooms on the left of the tee box.
Oh, okay. On the 13th tee.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. And then I'm like, I really need to pee. Didn't really know where to go, and since JT had an issue around the green, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna sneak here in the river. Probably the people would not see me that much, and then they clap for me. Probably one of the clubs that I really got today, like real loud. So that was kind of funny.
Are you concerned that there might be any blowback from that at all? Or I mean, obviously they did see you, right?
Yeah, they saw me. They saw me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not embarrassing at all for me. So if I had to do it again, I would do it again.
What the fuck's wrong with that guy? What the fuck is wrong with you, kid? Can you imagine you go to the Masters, you're at the Masters for the first time. This guy just whips it out and takes a leak in Rae's Creek. And then it's just so casual afterwards. Well, yeah, well, you know, I had to go. Good luck, son. I don't know, man. Somebody had to have a talk with him. That's a bad idea. That's just he might have been wearing bad idea jeans when he thought of doing that. Couldn't make it to the porta potty. Here we go. And God help me. My goal was to make it to the Masters. I made it to the Masters. And I might not ever make it back after this segment. We're about to find out, Ron, because we are going to tell the story that we have teased on the program a few times of our misadventure that we had last year in Augusta.
Well, I'd like to kind of set the stage for everybody. When we were doing our podcast back before the show, one of our podcasts, I asked you, I'm like, hey, Ricky, like, you know, because you always make fun of me because how much I like to travel. And you say that I'm always on vacation, blah, 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 blah. And so I asked you, hey, Ricky, like, where do you want to go in the world? Like, where do you want to see? And your number one answer was Augusta. So I just want people to understand how, like, this was the absolute top of your bucket list. I want people to understand that when they hear this story.
Yeah, it was. You asked me, I told you, within the world of sports, it was absolutely.
But it wasn't even sports, Ricky. You were like, oh, I want to go here, I want to go.
Yeah.
But you're number one. Like, you wanted to do Augusta before you wanted to go to Europe or Japan or whatever it was. You wanted to go to Augusta. That was your number one answer.
It was the number one place on earth that I wanted.
And I almost blew it. I almost took that away from you. And I don't know, Ricky, if I've ever felt sicker in my entire life than my misguided attempt to do something good, and it almost ruined. I was nauseous while we were walking away. It
was like a year in the making, pretty much. I knew that you were like, hey, like next year. So no guarantees, but next year. And shout out to CJ and his hospitality and for making that happen through your connection, obviously. And I you know, when you told me, I remember the day that you told me, all right, are you setting down?
Yeah.
Are you setting down? Okay. Are you ready? Are you ready to go to the Masters this year? And of course, I reacted like, those women in the audience when Oprah's saying, you get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car.
You squealed.
And
you
I'm
squealed.
just like, oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God. I was jumping up and down and whatever. So the time comes, and I fly into Atlanta and, shout out to Tom Levin who came by, picked up just a bunch of guys and
the shuttle,
they had that little shuttle bus. And then we load into the shuttle bus and we make, it's like 2.5 hours to Augusta from Atlanta. I didn't realize how far it was.
Yep, it is.
It was a long bus drive in, and there we are. There's a portion of us.
Yep.
And then there were others in the house, and we were going in shifts, basically, right? And so we had passes for Thursday and Friday. And on Wednesday, somehow or another, the discussion came up like, hey, we could probably go over there maybe and see a little bit of the practice round. And of course, I've never been to the Masters. Some of the guys that we're with have been to the Masters multiple
and either
times.
Have I. I've never been on the grounds.
Okay. So Ron and I, we don't know how it works. We've never been to Rome before. Okay. So they drive us over there. I think we were in the little bus.
Yep.
Were we in the bus?
Yeah, we were
going over there, right?
Yeah.
And we get there, and people are walking out. We're walking in, and we were supposed to meet some people there, right? That had there was
potentially some people there, but then we were also told,
right.
Hey, here's how it might go down is people who are leaving might just be able to, for a couple bucks, they'll give you your pass and then you can go in because you're allowed to switch passes. And unbeknownst to me, and the truth of it is, Ricky, you didn't do anything. The thing that you did was you stood next to me. You didn't do anything. This wasn't your idea.
Yes.
It wasn't, you didn't initiate anything.
I didn't know you were going to do it.
You didn't know I was going to do it.
Do that.
Hindsight being 2020, like an absolute moron, I have money in my hands and I was asking people, hey, do you want to sell me your pass so we can get in? And then
you
security,
are literally walking along waving
with money.
Cash.
Yeah. Because it's what I've done.
That kind of thing,
others,
as it turns out, tends to get noticed. Tends to get noticed at Augusta, Ron.
But in fairness, so I didn't do my due diligence. I don't know the rules there. I don't know the scalping laws. I don't know anything. I just know that in other sporting event situations, that's what I've done before. Because you're allowed to scalp in certain places. You have some money, no big deal. Well, it's a huge deal. And a security guy at outside the entrance came up to me and he said, you can't do that. Before I could say anything, he took my picture. And he said, "You're banned from the." Took your picture. He said, "You guys are banned from the." He said, "You guys are banned from the Masters forever."
I'm like, I haven't. I mean, we've been there for like 3 minutes.
If three,
I don't even know what's going on, and I have been banned.
Yes, because you were standing next to me. You had nothing to do with it. You were standing next to me.
And I said to the guy, I was like, I didn't know he was going to do that. Like, whatever.
Right.
Bye. And look. I'm sure they have dealt with so many people who do
all the time
that type of thing that and everybody who gets caught doing anything has a story and whatever. So, so all I can tell you is that walk and you can't take your cell phone into the tournament.
Right.
Okay. So this isn't like the fucking Phoenix Open or whatever, where you can be like on the phone, like, hey, I'm going to scream my head off. You can't even take your phone in there. All right. So we're in Augusta. We've been separated from our group. We have no means of communicating with anybody, at least for the moment. We don't know where we are in proximity.
We don't know where our phones are. We don't even know where our phones are.
No. And we are walking. I will tell you right now, the walk off of the grounds was the longest walk of my entire fucking life.
And I told you I was ill. I'm starting to feel nauseous right now thinking about how I felt. And I just remember walking with you and just going, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. It sucks that I don't get to go, but I really don't care. But my God, Ricky, this was your thing. I don't know what to do right now. I am sick. And I finally said to you, I said, dude, I said, I can't let this go. I at least have to try to talk to somebody
Now,
and make this right.
And Ron, before you go any further, Tim's in my ear asking me, he's like, were you pissed off? Did you cuss Ron out? This is where you can let people know that I'm maybe a better guy than they might think that I am.
No, you didn't at all.
I totally was cool about it.
Well, it kind of, I mean, listen, I don't know how you would react if this were to happen in another situation similar. Ricky, I honestly believe both of us were in shock. Like, I don't.
That's true. That's true, actually.
Like, I don't think we're going to do a good enough job explaining and conveying to people right now I'm starting to feel a little bit visceral right now. I'm feeling it's coming back
awful.
To you. It is, dude. And it was awful. And I'm thinking, oh my God, there's no reason for us to stay here anymore. So I don't know, Ricky, what are you going to do? We're going to get you back to Atlanta? Cause Ryan and I had driven from Nashville.
Ron's like, you can stay in the house the rest of the weekend. And I'm thinking, can you imagine? Like I'm sitting on the couch watching everybody else go to the Masters.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to go home. I'm like, I'll get another flight home. I got to go home. And so we're walking down the sidewalk and I'm defeated.
Yep.
And then you're like, hey, maybe there's still some way. And I'm like, bro, we're like lucky we didn't get arrested. There's not going to be any way, but to your credit, you were determined.
Yep. So I walked back in a direction that was different than we walked out, thinking I'm just going to go find somebody. I'm going to say, hey, is this really we didn't get an official, a notice. We didn't get a piece of paper or anything like that. Just we were our pictures were taken, and I certainly didn't want to go to Augusta jail. So, but I went back and lo and behold, I see the guy that told us that we were banned. He looks at me. I walk up. You're not with me. You're just hanging out. You're like, nope, I am not going in there.
Now, this is where I'm going to give a quick little aside of what I'm experiencing while you're gone. So Ron goes in. I'm so fucking traumatized that I won't even go with him. I'm like, I'm not even going back in there. I'm like, bro, you might get arrested.
Yep.
Because that's how it felt. And Ron's like, they're not going to arrest me. And I'm like, well, I don't want to find out. So I sat down at the end of the property, just a defeated man. I'm right out. I mean, it runs out right down by town,
the main street. Yeah.
So I don't even think that I'm on the property. I mean, I'm trying to stay off the property. I sat down on a concrete ledge.
Yep.
And I'm there, just got my head down. I mean, honest to God, I probably look like Forrest Gump sitting on the bench, just dejected. And a few minutes later, a guy comes over and he's like, hey, buddy, are you okay? And I look up and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm all right or whatever. He's like, can I help you with anything? Whatever. My picture had somehow gotten around. This guy, he knew who I was, I guess, from the photo that was taken of us or whatever. And so I start explaining to him what happened. And I think at first he was suspicious of me. Are you trying to weasel your way back in here?
Right.
And I'm like, no. And I start just I'm a broken man at that point. So it just starts pouring out of him. I came down from Kentucky. It was a lifetime dream. We have tickets for tomorrow and Friday. I went with these guys. I didn't know what was going on. Next thing I know, I'm being banned, whatever. And I could tell as I was talking that the guy realized that I was sincere, that I wasn't some professional hustler or whatever. Right. And so, we had a nice conversation and he was cool to me. And then all of this is going on while you're gone. And I don't know how long you were gone, but it felt like you were gone probably 3 times as long as you actually were.
It was probably 15 minutes.
To me.
It was probably 15 minutes.
Yeah, it felt like an hour,
Yeah.
because I'm like, what's happening? Is Ron, what's going on? What's going on? What's it,
Right.
maybe Ron's been taken away somewhere.
Yeah.
I've lost my friend.
Yeah. And
Now
you
really
didn't
am
even,
on my own.
and the only person you even knew in the whole group of 25 guys was Ryan. He was the only person you knew.
Yes.
You didn't know where,
Right,
didn't even know where he was at the
all
time.
dudes I've just met like that day.
Yeah.
I've only been in town for like 2 hours. I mean, I just arrived and it all went to hell immediately.
So back to where, so I see the guy that said, "You're gone." And I walked up to him and I said, "Hey man," I go, "Can I talk to you for a second?" And he was with two other guys. One looked more kind of like his supervisor. And I just said, I don't know what to say right now other than I'm sorry. I didn't realize that was something that was against the rules here. And I said, "We just wanted to see the course today before we came tomorrow." He goes, "Wait, what? You've got badges for tomorrow?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Dude," he goes, "I thought you were just some guy just trying to see. You can't scalp. You can't do that. You can never do that." He goes, "But if you've got badges tomorrow," he goes, "you're good." I said, "Are you sure?" He goes, "Yes, you're fine." And they were like, I couldn't tell you how like awesome they were when they realized that I wasn't trying to pull a fast one on Augusta National. And then I just remember walking away and finding you and going, "We're back." And I don't even think you believed me at first. But yeah, it was potentially, it was one of the worst hours of my last 5 years. Like, it was pretty bad.
If we had truly not been allowed back in, that would be a tough one. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that would be residually hard. That's the kind of thing that I would reflect back on periodically for the rest of my life.
I mean,
and think, why did that happen?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. So
and we went to the Hooters that John Daly is at.
Yep.
And we hung out there, but I was still, even though we got it cleared
we knew
up,
we were back in. Yep. You couldn't fully enjoy it. I
was so shook by it. I didn't even want to meet John Daly. In any other time, I would be psyched for that. You were like, "Ricky, you want to go over and say hey to John Daly?"
Because CJ knows him. Yeah, because CJ does
Yeah.
business with him. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even fucking care. Like, and I like John Daly, but I was spent emotionally. I was like, I don't have anything to give John Daly at this point in my life.
So this is just basically a PSA. Don't try to scalp tickets on the Masters grounds. Like, just don't do it. But I do want to say, what I do want to say, I want to talk a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about, yeah, I want to talk a little bit about when we were there on Thursday. Dude, I felt like I was walking through a national park. It was the most beautifully exquisite thing I'd ever seen. A lot of times things don't meet the expectations that you have, and this exceeded it. It was amazing just to walk around and go, "Oh my gosh, that's where that famous shot happened, or this happened." It was spectacular.
A lot of moments for me. One that sticks with me is we were crossing the 13th fairway. We were waiting for the golfers to come down, and once they walked past, they were going to open up the walkway for people to cross the fairway, and it was Tiger's group. And so Tiger walks by, they open it up, we cross the fairway. We are literally in the 13th fairway at the same time that Tiger Woods is walking down it as well. And I looked down and just, looked at him from behind, walking down towards the green, and thought, you just took that mental picture of it, right? Like,
we didn't have cameras
forever.
We didn't have cameras.
Yeah, because we didn't have we did not have. I would like to confirm we did not sneak a camera in.
Nope.
Okay, there were no other rules that were violated. We were very good children after that. But yeah, our thanks to Augusta security and personnel for being fair with us. The voice of the Los Angeles Chargers and the co-host of Petros and Money, among his other endeavors. We are excited to see Matt Money Smith. Matt, how are you?
I'm great, man. It's good to be back, Ricky. I dig the Pele sweatshirt. Thinking back to my childhood when he was playing in the what was that? The NASL, the Chicago Sting, where our team in town, when the Cosmos would roll in, you get all excited. So yeah, cool little bit of nostalgia there to bring me in.
Oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. We got a draft coming up. As you well know, it's a interesting time of the year in the NFL. I think that's one of the things that we love about the NFL is it really does maintain our interest year round. I think compared to a lot of other sports. Let's talk about the Chargers first, since that's a team that you know so well. 11-6 last year in the first year of the Jim Harbaugh era. A nice start. Tell me, Matt, you guys are picking 22nd. What are the Chargers in need of? What do you think the team is looking for in this draft? And how does year 2 of the Harbaugh era set up right now as we look ahead a few months?
Yeah, I think anything's in play if for the people that are super into the draft and, click on every mock draft they can find out there. There's a reason why they post them. Just people like them. It's wild. It's not even like the same position. It's one thing if it's like, well, I think they'd like Mike Green more than Shamar Stewart at edge, or Derek Harmon more than Kenneth Grant at tackle. It's like it's every position. It's wide receiver. Some have mocked to the Chargers. It's interior line. Gray Zabel from North Dakota State, or Tyler Booker from Alabama. It's running back. Oh, if Amarian Hampton's there, or tight end if Colston Loveland's there. So I think there's a million different. Well, not a million, but there's a handful of directions they could go. And I think what we saw last year is they're just really a best player available team. They took a linebacker in the 3rd round. Even though they had linebackers on the roster, they took a wide receiver and traded up for him in the 2nd round instead of the 1st. Joe Alt, they said, was the top player on their board. They took him at 5. So my guess is it could be any one of multiple positions, save quarterback. They got Herbert. Safety, they're covered there. Linebacker, because they drafted Junior Colson last year, pretty much the 3, and tackle with Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater. Otherwise, I think everything else is up for grabs in what's a pretty deep draft, especially in that middle class where they're picking. It seems like most people that I've talked to say from like 15 to 40, most of these players are graded out very similarly.
Interesting. Hey, Matt, such a disproportionate amount of the draft talk inevitably ends up on the same handful of names. And that's where we've been with this one, certainly. Cam Ward, it seems pretty clear that Cam Ward is going to be a Titan. Then you've got the questions about Travis Hunter. And in addition to that, his utility, right, is sort of this unicorn who is capable of playing offense as well as cornerback. And then Shedeur Sanders is maybe the guy who's been talked about the most. Matt, is there anything you're hearing from your sources within the league about Shedeur and what might be his most likely destination?
It's all over the place, what I've heard, Ricky, and that goes all the way back to the combine when I was there, and it was, projected that these guys would probably go 1-2, and then we're starting to hear that, and it was after the pro day, and I think some people were talking about arm strength and depending on climate, and, is that arm strength really going to be able to cut through in Cleveland or in New York in the middle of the winter, or is this someone that you probably want to see play indoors, like in New Orleans, yet here he is tied to Pittsburgh now in the 20s. I think like quarterbacks are always weird. I've been covering the draft for probably close to 15 years now. And it's funny how it works. Like I remember being at the draft, and I wish I could remember what year it was, but when we were talking about, I think Desmond Ridder might work his way into the 1st round. Like I can see that. And that was like the buzz around the combine. And then all of a sudden he slides to the 3rd, and now probably not going to see him start, ever again, unless he's signed as a backup, comes in an emergency and shows out. And I think back to the Malik Willis conversation about he might go number 3 overall or number 7 overall. And you think about where he slid to. And then last year, you look at how crazy that got, and teams are trading up for J.J. McCarthy and Bo Nix, and you've got 5. And a lot of people thought those 2 players were being overdrafted. And I think we see it's such a weird position, man. And I think the one thing that people should remember when it comes to the draft is I think there's 2 schools of thought for for front offices that I've sort of been able to figure out doing this as long as I have. And that's, some of them don't want to draft a safe quarterback. They're not interested in the whole high floor thing. It's like, hey, if I draft this guy and he maxes out and he's the 16th to 18th best quarterback in the league and I put pieces around, that doesn't work for me. Like, that's not going to help me win a division. I would rather do the Anthony Richardson, take a huge swing, and either I'm going to strike out or I'm going to hit a home run. And this dude is going to take the league by storm. And so I think that's where the Shedeur thing comes in. I don't feel like there's that team that feels, oh, this guy could be the home run. I think most of them are, hey, this guy could be a real solid game manager, get the right pieces around him, and we can move forward with that. And that's okay. And I think there's fewer and fewer teams like that in the league that want to play the position that way. You know, they're a little more interested in, I'd rather take the big swing. I'd rather take the Jalen Milroe swing, man, and just see if it works. And that's something that I feel like is starting to permeate more and more throughout the league.
How far do you think Sanders could slide realistically?
Well, it's funny. So
Right.
I say all of that.
We've heard about him as being like 1 or 2, you know.
Yeah.
But it does seem like, you know, it's not out of the question that he could end up going later than any of us could have predicted a few months ago.
I could totally see him being a Kellen Moore. You know, Kellen was Coach Moore was with us for a year in LA, and he's such a smart guy, and I think he's going to do great in New Orleans. I could see that. I could see him sort of just with his experience and how he played the position and just the creativity that he has and how he made it work with a quarterback like Jalen Hurts or Dak Prescott. I could see him feeling that he could make that happen. So 9, I think, is very realistic. I wouldn't be surprised if a team just trades. Look, the thing about Sanders that's different about Shedeur is there's sizzle there, right? Like, there's juice. You know, Shedeur is a star. You know, whether people think that he's earned that or not, you can't deny what he and his dad did at Colorado, which was just not only a dormant program, but man, it felt like it was dead on arrival for a while there. And the juice that they pumped into that program and just the presence that he has, the vibe that he has, I think is worth something, maybe, you know, beyond what he brings on the field. So it's almost like, yeah, this guy is a little bit of that game manager, accurate thrower, pocket passer, not a lot of big splash plays, but off the field, he's such a star and he's such a draw. And then you get the dad component in there who you know is going to have a comment about everything that he's doing. And I think some people view that as a negative, and I can see it the other way as someone who would be in a front office and wants to sell tickets and wants to get some buzz and have my team be part of the lead of Sunday Night Football when they're recapping games because everyone wants to know what Shedeur Sanders is doing. So I could see someone talking themselves into that, like, yeah, he's good enough, man. We got the players, we got a running game, we got an O-line. Let's grab him and coach him up, and we're going to get that sizzle and that bump of popularity that comes along with them. And that's good for us. That's good for the team.
So we're doing this. We're going to do this story today because it hits close to home. I fucking despise geese. There are a shit ton of geese that have decided that they want to live at the pond in my neighborhood. And they crap all over the sidewalk, which is disgusting. But they also at times are aggressive. And I'll be honest, I was walking one time and one kind of at me and it scared the crap out of me. So I despise geese.
Were you trying to get a master's badge from it? Were you waving money?
Yes, I was. But I literally hate geese. I wish I could just go out there and shoot all of them. Sorry, PETA. So we're going to go to Waterloo.
Lord,
we're going to go to Waterloo, Ontario, to Wilfrid Laurier University. And we're going to watch a video of these geese that are in a protective mode because they're nesting right now. They're terrorizing these college students to the point where they won't go out their front door anymore. They're sneaking out their side doors. And the Humane Society in Waterloo says there's nothing they can do about it. Let's watch this video.
Close to a week now. We can't even leave our house. It's crazy. We never thought this would happen. Just thought they were 2 geese. And then all of a sudden now the dad is angry. He's flying at everyone. Old people, kids, us. So our friends came over to hang out, and then the goose attacks. We're running up the stairs, and the croissants went flying, and then the geese started eating them. But yeah, we've also just been sitting at our window in our living room, just watching these geese attack people all day long. Like this one girl fell into a bush. She was running, and then boom, the goose just nailed her in the head, and she fell.
It's in the cover. Oh my God.
It is pretty scary when they're just coming at you full force. And we've tried to call everywhere. We've called every single animal control there is. We've done it all, but they do not care. There's kids down our street. They're coming at them with water guns. They're still staying around. They don't care. He's still outside right now, just on our front lawn. Yeah.
Am I a bad guy for finding it just a little bit funny?
Oh, it's
People scurrying
hilarious.
away from geese.
No, it is hilarious.
You know, it's
hilarious.
Why don't we gather all the geese that are causing trouble and then just send them to like every college campus where there are like pro-Hamas protesters and just let the geese disperse the students? What do you think? They're just out there just like, hey, yay for Palestine or whatever. And it's not so fast. Because here comes Mother Goose.
I think it's a fantastic idea.
You know, it's a thought.
But I mean, that's like, if you're one of those kids, it sucks and you're being terrorized, but it is pretty funny to sit here and watch, like, just watch these geese just go nuts.
It's funny when it's not happening to you.
Yeah.
I think is what it amounts. You know, somebody else getting chased by an angry goose, hilarious. You getting chased by an angry goose, not funny at all.
Well,
is how that works.
So
Ron?
In my experience here, you know, when I'm walking and I see a group of them, I'm like, I kind of like, sorry, please, can I pass? But I just wonder if one came at me and you grabbed the neck, just started swinging it around, like, would that work? Like,
Ron, I think it would work for you murdering a goose and then being
it's
taken
self-defense.
away. I don't think you can just choke them.
It's self-defense. If it's attacking you, I'm not suggesting that I initiate.
I couldn't grab a goose by the neck and wave it. And you're on me for not giving a kid a foul ball. You're like, how about I just grab a goose in each fist and just helicopter that motherfucker for a while? Yeah. Now do Def Leppard's drummer doing that to a goose. There we go.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.